he grabbed me and he said, Tree, she didn't make it. She didn't make it. And I lost everything. Your whole being, everything inside of me fell out of me. I fell to the floor. I couldn't function. I couldn't breathe.
I am extremely excited to have you on, especially for the first episode, because I love your testimony. I love your story. I think it's going to be hugely impactful and helpful and encouraging to so many different people. I named the podcast what I named it because I wanted to be able to go back in time with you and really get a feel for all of the things that you've lived through from the beginning. So you can start wherever you want. Take us on the journey.
Just kind of going off of the day before, and there definitely was a day before where my life was one way and then it was another way. But there was a whole life before that like led up to that. And it's just to give a little bit of background about me, my childhood, upbringing, becoming such a young mother, getting married, just all the things, such a young age. But I'll start, it can be the life before. I was just always perceived, and still even today, as people look at me and they would never look at this and think, wow, like, what has that girl been through? Sure. And even in school, my mother was the counselor at the school that I was always going to, and it was like, oh, your mom's a teacher, you're the smart girl, you have everything, like you're athletic, all the things, but it wasn't necessarily always like that. And there's always a home life that is very different than what people see and you can put on. So I guess like I even kind of got into acting a little bit because you act. And so I just had a hard childhood, I'll say. Growing up, I had a really strained relationship with my mother. God love her. But in that, I won't say like I was beat down, but it was physical and it was a rough time. But now, like after going through what I've now on the other side of what I've survived, I feel like those things in my early life were necessary to prepare me for what was coming. And so I just have always found grace in that. I just, with my mother, just when I was younger, would always feel like, what did I do to this woman? I knew she loved me, but I thought, man, why does she hate me? And she didn't. She just had her own life that she was dealing with, and she just put that on me. And like I said, then coming out of that, now I realize she was unknowingly preparing me for my life. But in that, I didn't know, so I wanted to start my life so early. I was like, oh, I can get married. Like before I was even graduating high school, going to get married. I mean, I went to cosmetology school in high school and had my cosmetology license before I even graduated high school. Then very end of my senior year, get pregnant. And I wasn't even necessarily freaked out then. I was like, oh, okay, like I can do this. I'm ready to go on and get married and
How did your mom feel about that?
She, it's kind of ironic because some of my friends growing up, she would always tell them like, oh, you're just going to be the pregnant girl in high school. And then careful what you say, careful what you put over, because I was that girl that I was pregnant in high school. And she never was like harsh on me about it. I know that once my son, Elijah, which is, I will speak on him so much, has been with me through every moment of my life that has been extreme and difficult. From graduating high school, I was pregnant with him, but he was with me.
Right.
And that was one of the first things, that you go through in life. The biggest thing, you graduate high school, and that precious baby was with me. And then I get married, and that is, you get married at 18 years old. You think you know what you're doing. No, we all know how that usually turns out. Sometimes it turns out great for people, but for me, no, that wasn't the case. And so I went on and started doing hair, and then fell into another relationship because you just feel like, okay, that one didn't work. Let's move on. And
Tell me about, was your father in your life?
my father
growing up?
was. He was. My parents divorced when I was in fourth grade, and that's when we kind of moved. I'm from Crane, and so we moved away from Crane. We lived in McCamey for a year. My mom was a counselor there, and I was still a little bit too close, I think, for my parents to live
Yeah.
to each other. So we moved to San Angelo, and I always was a barrel racer. Rodeo was my life. So we were go all the time. And that was part of my life because of my dad. He's a rancher, and just horses and cattle and all of that. So he was in my life. He was always a presence, but I think now I see with how driven I am with things. He was starting his own company. He was in the dirt business, and he was just busy. He didn't mean to be distant or absent, but in that time, like, you couldn't, your parents could move away from each other. My mom moved out of town, and so when we moved to San Angelo, it was a little bit harder for me to see him as much as I needed to, I think, because he was a positive presence in my life.
Good.
When I was with him. It just wasn't enough, I don't think, and that wasn't his fault. It was just product of divorce.
Sure.
And so
when you met your husband at 18, was he more like mom?
I think no, my mom was just a tough, hard lady. She was very strong personality, and I don't even know how we really became to be, other than I was having my wisdom teeth all cut out the summer before my senior year, and he just came over and hung out with me every day, and it's like, do you have anything else you need to be doing? And I was sick during that time, and he just hung out, and he's just a sweetheart. He is very much has my son's heart, just one of the sweetest people that I've ever met. He has had so many struggles in his life that breaks my heart, but he just went down a path that I didn't even at the time realize was as bad as it was, and I went a different way from him. We just separated, and so wasn't ever a horrible split. It was just went in different directions, and he just suffered from major drug abuse, and still to this day struggles so much. I see him from time to time, but it's just sad thing for that. And I see people like him, and that's just now going through what all I've been through in my life. I never judge anybody. I feel like I'm judged a lot. Like I said, that people look at me and they don't see what I don't put it off out like I've been through. So I think that just happens with so many people that suffer from addiction, and
the perspective.
So it's like, oh man, you've got to decide, like, are you going to let that control you? Because it could have definitely controlled me. I've never struggled with drug abuse, but there have been times where alcohol has been a factor in my life. Other things, just, I mean, I would try to fill the voids, and it's a tough one. You just have to make that decision. Like, is it going to control me, or am I going to be better? Am I going to be bigger than this. So it's each person to their own. And I think that too, what I said, bringing it back to my childhood, just you have to be really strong and you have to have really strong bones and stand up and say, oh, I'm not going to drown. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
So that was early life with my son. And right after that met my little girl, Cameron Kay, her father. And that was kind of, he was like the bad boy. I was really attracted to that for some reason, not even to this day. I don't know why, but
It's a
he was
lower 20s
yes.
thing.
And I think you probably even might even know Ricardo, but he is a good person. He's just an extreme person and great guy. And then we had another baby, Cameron, and moved from San Angelo. We moved to Crane for a little bit and then ended up moving to Midland. And I just threw myself into work. That's when I really hit doing hair hard. And I would work all the time. I mean, 7 to 7. And then I would do news shows on Mondays at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I just really was busy. So kind of just went a separate direction there too. So I think that's going to bring us closer to the day before, that I was in that life of just constantly being at work. That relationship came to an end. That was a little bit tougher because, like I said, Ricardo, he's an extreme person and he didn't like that. It was ending and was pretty difficult. It was a little bit abusive, nothing major, but there was some abuse there and some things that I will forever regret that my little girl Cameron witnessed. But I mean, we can't take it back. And so he and I divorced, and it was really tough, like trying to figure out the balance of letting him back in the kid's life, and I slowly did, and I was having to work weekends, and he was, I needed help. I mean, the kids are not in school, and he wasn't working weekends, so he was keeping them on the weekends and while I was working. And so the day before my life changed forever, I'll never forget that, how precious. I mean, a little girl had a glow around her. She pulled up to the salon, and she, my good friend Casey and I ran outside, and we were joking and laughing with her, and we were like, oh, Boogie. That's what I would call her, Boogie. And she didn't even really talk. She just had a smile on her face and just precious. But she was going to go with her dad that day, and she had asked me, Mommy, can I please have some fancy mice? And I was like, mice? Ooh, what is this? And her dad had taken her to PetSmart, and then the next day I was going to meet them at church, and on Sunday, and pick up Eli and Cameron from their dad. And so I went to church, and it was really windy. That day I remember walking in, the wind was blowing my hair every which way, and I didn't see them, and I was like, okay, I guess they're late. Maybe they're not here. So then church ends. I go to the car, and I'm like, hey, where are you guys? And he was like, I'm so sorry we didn't make it. We didn't get a chance to go back and get Cameron's mice. We're going to stop by PetSmart in a little bit and go. And I was like, okay, I'll be at the house. I'm going to go do laundry. Bring them whenever you guys get finished. So go home, and my Sunday's a pretty normal day. That was about the only laid back day. I was doing laundry, and I just remember my phone ringing, and I had a particular ring that was Ricardo's ring on there. And I thought, oh, that's him. They're coming. And I pick up the phone, and when you right in that, like, that's the call you never can imagine that coming.
That's
You
right.
don't see it coming, but can't even figure it out what is happening in that, because Ricardo is just screaming that Cameron is lost. And so in my head, I'm like, go to the front doors. I'm thinking PetSmart. They went to PetSmart and maybe she went out the door. Like, go tell somebody she's lost, Ricardo. What is the matter? And he was saying, no. And it was so confusing. He was saying, there's a fire. And I'm thinking, a fire? And he was like, there's a car accident. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And he was like, God, Jury, she's dead. And he's like, but I can't find her. And I can tell you, like, hit the ground and felt my fingernails like gripping into my tile floor. Like, what are you saying to me? She's dead. There's an accident. You can't find her. Like, the car crashed into PetSmart. Like, all the things. And so he's telling me that they're in Crane and that he's trying to tell me, and he's not even there, so he doesn't know. So into this, they had gone Saturday after they left seeing me at work over to Ricardo's parents' house in Crane, which would have always been fine. He just didn't want to tell me that because he was keeping them, and he wanted to go out that night. So they went to their grandmother's, totally fine, to spend the night. I just didn't know.
Sure.
And so he's saying his brother Johnny is like bringing them back, but there's a car accident and they're in Crane, and there's a fire and there's a wreck and he can't find her and he's looking for her, but she's dead. And so I'm like, find her. What do you mean you can't find her? So thankfully my cousin was at my house, and I was like, we've got to get in the car. We've got to go. And we get to the edge of town because I'm going to Crane. I'm thinking there's a wreck in Crane and nobody can find Cameron. So I'm going to look for her. And I get to the loop or the interstate, and it's all blocked off. Like there's smoke everywhere, and it's not even registering. My brain is not registering anything. I'm just like, there must be fires, because I knew there was wind everywhere, and they have the roads blocked off. And the firefighter is like, you can't go through here. We can't let anybody through here. The fires are too extreme that we can't. And I was like, at that point, like, mama crazy rage kicks in, and I'm like kicking the dash, like, let me through. Like, I have to go to Crane. I have to get my child. She's been in an accident.
Right.
And so the firefighters hearing this, and gets my cousin out of the car, and he says, you need to take her to the hospital immediately. And I'm thinking, what? Like, and JC's like, I need to take you to the hospital. And I'm like, what do you mean? Did they already get here? Are they in the ambulance? Did they already make it from Crane? And I'm like, okay, we'll just go. Like, go. And it's so slow. And I still remember, like, almost probably popped the dash. I was just like kicking it, like, get me there. And so I pull up to the emergency ER, and I see the ambulance, and I can tell that my son's coming out of the ambulance on the stretcher. I knew his shorts right away. So I run over and I see him, and he's looking at me, and he's okay. And he's in, like, they have him in the neck brace, everything, like, to not let him move, but he's okay. And I'm asking him, where's your sister? Where is she? And he doesn't know. He said, Mom, I don't know. I don't know where she is. And so I'm like, okay, I know she's got to be around here somewhere. And I'm walking in and trying to like compose myself, and there's firefighters running all around, and my good friend's so hard on him. I can't even imagine. And I think of him all the time. He's from Crane, and his name's Mark Collier. And he was a firefighter. And he came. He grabbed me and he said, "Tree, she didn't make it. She didn't make it." And I lost everything. Your whole being, everything inside of me fell out of me. I fell to the floor. I couldn't function. I couldn't breathe. They were trying to put oxygen on me because I was just completely going. Like, I felt like I was dying. And I remember just like feeling like I was on the wall, and I could like see what was happening, because in my body, my eyes, like, I went blind. I couldn't see. I couldn't feel. I was not in here anymore. And the nurses came in and they said, if we need to admit you into the hospital, because we understand if we need to give you something to help you. And they said, but your son, he needs surgery, and we need you to be able to go to him, and he doesn't know. And so I go into the operating room. He had, in the accident, the fire had like burned through, but there was so much smoke, and a truck had hit them, and it made Elijah hit his head on the backside of the window, and it busted his head open.
How
and
old was he?
Eli was 9 at the time, and he was knocked out from that hit. So he didn't know anything. There were but what happened was, when they got hit, that they were moving so slowly on the side of the road because Johnny couldn't see, and he was just trying to like get off of the road and get where he could see. Well, another truck came in and hit them sideways, and it knocked them off of them into the access road. So they were on the interstate, and it kind of made them fly through the air, and the truck hit. And where it hit was on the fuel tank, and there's supposed to be a shield under it. So it was scraped off just like a cheese grater underneath when it hit. So all of that gasoline is spewing out, and there's not fire, but there's smoke, but there's embers. And so they're going through the field, like the truck got hit, and it's going through the field, going through all those embers, and just gasoline is spewing all over the place. And it knocked Johnny out as well, but he just came to, and he heard Eli like moaning in the back, and he reached to grab Eli and just chunked him. And there were some women that passed by, and they just saw what was happening and went and grabbed Eli, put him in the car, and got him out of there, because then the truck, it exploded within. I mean, it could have been all of them within seconds. It was just engulfed in this huge flame that Johnny tried. Oh, bless him. He suffers so much. He has a daily visual that he sees every day, that he tried to get her. He couldn't. The firefighters had to grab him by his feet and pull him out, because they knew they couldn't get her, but they had to get him And
How old was she?
she was 5. And so Johnny is there coming into the hospital too. And from what I could see, he just had blisters all over him, huge blisters. And then Eli was needing to go in and have that surgery or have the back of his head sewn up, and they were needing to get all the glass out of his head. And so I gathered myself. I don't know how. That's just, again, the mom kicks in and you went, okay, we've got to go. And so Eli's laying there and he's still looking around and he's like, where's my sister? And baby, she didn't make it. And that, like, hearing those things, like, that's nothing that anybody ever wants to say here. Or if I could keep anybody else from ever experiencing that, any mother, any parent, any father, I would. But Eli's just crushed and crumbling, and I'm trying to console him, and I'm like, really, honey, you're going to have to go in for surgery right now. So then I'm like, he's hit his head. Is that okay that he goes under? Is he going to come out? And they're thinking, oh gosh, so she's scared to death. Like, she's just lost one. Is she going to let us? And yes, we just need to right now. We need to go in and get this all cleaned out. And so they did. And it just I can still, in that ER room, I still, like, it's a nightmare, but it's there. Like, I see it so vividly. It's always gonna be there, part of me. There to this day. Like, I can smell fire. Like, if that's one of the worst. It's really bad on Eli, but the way the ER, the way the hospital smelled, like, all those things, it's just triggers that are really tough to get through. But I can't even tell you how I got through that next few days. I still felt like I was not in my body for like a week. I don't know why. I couldn't see. I had contacts in it. I had my contacts in, but I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything. And then you have to plan a funeral and try to do all those things, and I couldn't do that. Amazing family and friends that were able to put a service together and pictures, and they made it the most beautiful service of flowers and the outpouring of people that came to honor her. I'll never forget that. This community, Midland, I've never spoke about this. This is the first time I've ever publicly spoke about any of this. And I just can't even begin to explain how much I genuinely love this community for how they wrapped us up and just completely took care of us during that, because I still don't know how I survived that, just getting through that. Then you get to have all the investigations start. They come and ask you all the questions, all the things that will lead into a lawsuit and all of that stuff. And so that's just kind of where you get to go and do next after you're suffering the loss of your baby. And then you don't really get to, just got to go to the next step. And so I didn't go back to work for a while after that, and it was just too much. It was too hard, which I loved that everybody was so caring and giving and loving and wanted us to be okay, but I didn't have the energy to even talk, really. It didn't even feel real. It didn't even. I remember a really good friend of mine, a little bit after, she was like, does this feel like this just happened, or does it feel like it was years ago? And I said, exactly that. It feels like it was a dream, like that I dreamt years ago. Like, am I going through this? And at that time is what it felt like. And then now, today, still 12 years later, now it feels like it was yesterday. Like, every time that I go back into the smells, and you go back there, like, it was like so strong that you are there right back in it. And it just feels like the missing her. You do, like, God, I know I told you this, like, God has put a shield of armor around my heart that I didn't fully have to suffer the loss of her. He lifted that off of me, because that would have killed me. I couldn't have survived that. I just couldn't have. There's no way, because I've been through other loss and tragedies since that I know, like, how tough that feels. But this one, it was lifted off of me, that I couldn't completely even fathom having to deal with that loss of a child. That I'm just so grateful and thankful that the Lord took that off of my heart and he protected me from that pain, because it would have killed me. And there have been, I know, other parents that have lost that's the thing that I say whenever people will ask me, what do we say to this, or what can we do? And there's not a right or wrong thing to say to a parent or tell them how they need to be. The advice I give is, if they survive this, if they survive it, then they'll know when they can start finding some sort of normalcy in their life and get back to life again, because there is life after, if you can survive it. Right. And I know from my early life, just being able to survive a lot of things, I was able to, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't always pretty. Nobody really ever knew the difficulties that I was going through. I was blessed to have downtime and have people in my life that I could just be. Eli and I could just be, and not financially. I really didn't have to worry about anything. I just would have to go and deal with the lawsuit. That was no fun. That was tough in itself, but
Sure.
I
Against the company that hit.
So in that's where, when the investigation comes about and they're trying to figure out exactly what happened, because there were 8 hits that day. That was Cameron and Eli's truck, Johnny, their uncle. That was the first hit. So it was a pickup truck that was pulling a trailer that had like a dune buggy on it, so it had force behind it. So then I think there was a Corvette that hit, and then it was just like ding, ding, ding. And then there was a truck that came in, a big truck that came in and hit. And so they were thinking that the big truck was the first one that hit. That wasn't what happened. But for a while, I didn't even know the timeline of what happened. I just remember the officer that came and talked to me after she passed, and I know now he I don't know if he was a parent or if he was just trying to console me, but I knew Eli had been knocked out, and he told me that Cameron had been knocked out, that she didn't feel a thing, she didn't know a thing. And so I felt comfort in that, because to even try to
Sure.
survive that your child could have suffered such a horrible, tragic death, painful, awful death. I felt peace there until it starts unfolding, and I actually couldn't even remember why I needed to go to the courthouse to get my birth certificate or Eli's or something I was in. And this has been like 2 years later, go to the courthouse and I see death certificate. And I asked the clerk, I was like, would that be necessary for the loss of my child? And she said, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, it is, because it kind of closes. So there's not any fraudulent people. There's all kinds of people out there. So a death certificate will just kind of close, so nobody will get her social. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, I need to go ahead and get that. So she pulled that for me just a day, not expecting to like get hit again with a sledgehammer. That when you get those death certificate reports, it has like cause of death on there. And I knew she had been burned, but I thought that she had been killed on impact. And so I am reading this, and it's not. I hit the wall, and I'm like, death due to global charring? Like, you read that, and it just hits you again. You know, like your biggest fear, like, oh my God, my baby like suffered one of my biggest fears, that and drowning. Like, she had to endure that, and God too. I can talk about that because I know that's what happened, but he's lifted that off of me too, to not completely just kill me. That's what she suffered. But
we have another episode coming on that experienced and lived through what your daughter went through. And so I'm looking forward to allowing them to share their perspective, and specifically you hearing it to give you that peace. And so that's coming. I can't wait, because I have images and thoughts of the exact same thing, especially whenever you first shared your story with me. I was like, I know firsthand when your body goes into shock, you don't feel anything. So we can rest in knowing that at least the moment that her body went into shock. Which, praying to Jesus, that was on impact.
Yeah.
Everything after that was
just, and I too will say that I've had peace in that too. Eli doesn't remember this, but he said to my little cousins, they were crying and they didn't understand. This was around the time of the funeral, and he was like, oh, Maddie, it's okay. He was like, I was there that day. And he was knocked out, and I don't know where he went, but he told her, I was there, and I saw Cameron with Jesus, and he lifted her out of that car, and I saw my sister go with Jesus. And that is another one. I've got a lot of those that you don't tell those to everybody, but that will help so many. I feel helped me for sure.
Yeah.
And he
and I believe that with my whole
saw
heart.
his baby sister leave out of here, and she wasn't burned. She wasn't hurt. She was just her beautiful, precious 5-year-old self. And I've had my battles with God about it. Like, why? But then I can't even imagine if she were to have to live a life with something so horrific that I said, okay, you can have her. You can have her. And I feel like that's what has built me into who I am today, because I'm not the same person I was before, definitely, but I feel things differently. I do things differently. I care for people on such a different level, so differently. And so in that, I mean, he created a better me
Sure.
through that. But I am just thankful that she, because it was such an extreme, quick circumstance, that probably wouldn't have been any lifestyle that I ever would want her to be here to live if she couldn't live the same as what she was before. And so I there to have said, okay, God, she gets to go, and she's beautiful. And I mean, I've had some other experiences after that, some great people in my life that, I mean, have seen her, prophetic people that didn't even realize what they were seeing. But then after hearing my story, they saw her in heaven running with Jesus, and she's precious and she's perfect and she's wonderful.
Yep.
And she looks over all of us. And
my heart never hurts for the ones who left. Like they're in the good place. It's this place, the place of separation and the place of suffering, that hurts my heart.
Always missing her. But I have gotten on the other side of life, because it got really rocky, where you just try to live and you're just trying to cope, and I don't think that I wasn't not coping, not feeling. I just then had more life start to happen, and it was like, oh, you got to deal with all the things. I mean, and so
it's not just unfair, it's viciously unfair. Those things are going to happen, and then things just aren't going to not stop happening.
Yeah.
The disappointment seems to never end. So finding some kind of grounding is so important, or you just keep flipping in the wind with every single thing, because it's not stopping.
Yeah.
It's
and that
so unfair.
Can destroy somebody, that I would have more things happen. I'm like, okay, God.
Did you ever feel like being done?
Oh, man, yeah. I've been done. But that, too, like, you look at me and think, like, she's holding it together pretty good. And I think I outwardly did hold it together really well, but no, not internally. There were times that I am sorry for that they happened, for Eli's sake too, that he is such a strong, amazing young boy, that he was in the accident with her. He survived it, and then his companion, his baby sister, like ripped from him. And so then mom's over here like trying to figure out life and live, and he's just skating by with me. And he saw a lot of things that he's, like I said, seeing her go to heaven, but he would tell me you think Jesus doesn't, that God doesn't understand that he feels the same way with his son. He saw his son die. And for us, and just, that boy being just a witness when he didn't even know that he was.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Thank you,
right.
Jesus.
You're right, Eli, you are. And
That's so special.
I then went on with life. I had a cancer scare that at the very end of my lawsuit with GM, almost couldn't even finish that with them because I had a mass in my side. And long story short, went in, had couple of different doctors look into it, and that it was could have been a spindle cell sarcoma, and that's a really bad one. And my life just would have been completely different had I gone with the first doctor. And it
They wanted to take
my spleen, my everything, my bowels, they were just going to cut everything out of me and put mesh. And I was just 6 weeks even recovery to be able to sit up. And I'm thinking, okay, well, here we are.
We're going to make it a rule that we're getting a second opinion.
Second opinion. So I go to Dallas, and he's like, yeah, it's got protein going to it. It's looking like, but he was like, I don't call cancer unless it's cancer. And he couldn't biopsy it because it was had so much blood going to it that I would have bled out. So he said, I'm going to go in and surgically biopsy it. And if it's cancer, I'm going to close you up and you're going to be on chemo before you even leave the hospital. And so this is at the very end of my fight with GM because I'm trying to push that vehicle was not properly shielded. Like, I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And then that was just a whole long story, got through it, but it ended up, my attorneys settled with them, and then I contacted the judge on that in his chambers, and he was like, I have never had anybody contact me in my chambers. And he then allowed me to come there and speak to him. He's like, I've never done this. And I said, this is just, I feel like this needs to be heard, that this is not right. I don't want to settle with them. I don't care if I'm not trying to get money. I don't want this to ever happen to anybody. It could have been within seconds that I would have lost my son too. And that fuel tank was not properly shielded. It's supposed to have an extra shield on it, and it didn't. And it was just scraped off. And he heard all the things, and he was just looking at my attorneys, which that was tough. I've gotten on the other side of that with them too. And I know maybe that was God stepping in, you can't deal with this anymore, but they had settled and I didn't. And so the judge said, I have to enforce the settlement because your attorneys settled and you signed. That's whenever I didn't know what I was signing. He said, you signed an agreement saying they can make decisions that they think are in your best interest. And so that door was kind of just closed off on me. Went in, had the surgery right after all of this, and it was just a vascular arterial clump inside. Usually it's a hemangioma, and people have them on the outside of their skin. Mine was on the inside in between my ribs. And so it came out that it was not cancerous, but that it definitely could have been. And the doctor said, I just was not expecting it to be that, but it's not. You're fine. You're going to hurt for a little bit because I had to go cut you in between the muscles, and that's going to take some time to heal, but you're going to go back to life, normal. Everything's going to be okay. And I thought, well, okay, come off of that. And then
Thank God for Eli.
Yes, he was
his mom
there,
was okay.
thinking. I had just a couple of years before I'd lost. I was around about 32, 33 at this time, and I had lost a cousin to spindle cell sarcoma. His was in his face, and so all those things I'm thinking, oh, here we go, this is it. And Didn't, but then wasn't even a month later that I get a call from my mom, and she is diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. And I'm like, here you go again, bam. What?
Yeah.
And I'm opening my business. I mean, I'm trying to just like paddle and stay above water. Just like you got to keep going. I've got to keep going. I have Eli. I've got to keep my life going. I've got to get on the other side of this. And I think that's what I was doing for a long time. And I think that's what inevitably I did. I hit rock bottom because I just kept having one thing after another.
Yeah.
And I did get my business open, and my mom got to see it. She passed away December 31st, 2016, and I had opened my salon in July 2016. But it was our first Christmas, and your salon, you're so busy, and the girls that worked for me then, I'll forever be grateful because they just stepped up and took over because I needed to go be with my mom during that. And I knew she had cancer, but it just at the end hit really fast, and it took her down really fast, and she passed away. That's a big one that I'm now on the other side of that. I feel it in my heart, whatever this was inside of me, that she had her tough upbringing life, that she did love me so much. I will always believe that she took it, and she took on whatever that illness was. And when she was leaving, I was holding her in her house, and I went with her, and I saw her walking towards light. I could just see her walking towards me, but she was not even looking at me. In her face, the pure joy on my mother's face that I saw when she was walking, and she just walked right past me. And I know I didn't get to see this little face, but when she passed, I saw her walking. There was a little girl with long hair, and she was with her. And I knew that they're okay, and they're together now, and they're so happy. And my mom's struggles that she had her whole life are lifted off of her, and she doesn't feel that anymore. And that was just always a hard thing, is having your baby. You know your baby's in heaven with Jesus. Of course she's okay, but still she's not with you. But she has her Shay Shay now, and I know that they are great. And so glad that I got to see that vision, that God allows you that to know, like, they're okay. I've got them. Yeah. They're okay. Yeah. So you go and you keep being strong, because I need you to keep being strong. And I'm like, okay.
How much stronger.
How? So you
That's so good.
Put the face on, and you're strong. And I just
That's
had
incredible.
a lot of stress on me, and I started drinking a lot, and I still wouldn't even say like that I was an alcoholic, because it wasn't like I would have to get up every day and have to start drinking. It was just when I did drink alcohol, there was no stopping me. Like, I was just gonna completely just drink any bar, like every bit of alcohol you have in there, I can drink this.
Yeah.
And it just got the better of me. There were some things in my childhood that I hadn't recognized that had happened that I knew did, but I didn't recognize it for what it was, that came out during that time that happened again. And then I did as an adult, like, oh, really shouldn't have happened when I was a child. But definitely shouldn't have happened when I'm an adult. And to take advantage of somebody in that vulnerable state. When I was drinking, and I woke up thinking, did that happen? And was thinking, maybe did I dream that? And I'm like, nope, that happened. So then I just went, I didn't care. I was like, I'm done. No more. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to try to do this anymore. This wasn't meant to be fun. I knew this wasn't happening for it to be fun. I was like, I don't want this anymore. Like, I don't care. So then really started drinking. I mean,
You mean life in general?
life, and just, I didn't care what happened to me. Like, there, thankfully, had friends that kept me from waking up on the street or would get me home. And I attempted suicide and just had some very special, dear people in my life that knew, like, they couldn't continue to watch over me every second. So more or less an intervention happened. They stepped in and you do those things, or you get to go to a hospital. And so I did. That was an experience that I survived, because those hospitals are no joke. They're the situations that happen there. I thought, oh my goodness, this is where I'm going to die.
Yeah.
This is where all these people in here, they're crazy, and I'm probably crazy too, but they're going to kill me in here. And my son too, he like went with me there. He like had to go and take me to this because he knew what was going on. And I had family. I had my dad, my best friend, one of our mutual friends, Schwal. Like, they got me there, and I got to spend 18 days in a hospital. And then there too, just realized after being there, like, there's a reason why everybody's there. And they're there again. When I get there, they're, what, your daddy took your BMW away? Are you throwing a fit? What are you doing here? And then when I would start speaking what I have lived through, they're like, you're not on drugs? You do need to be here, but
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, this is traumatic. This is too much for one person.
And so I have hit the rock bottom, just not a place that I ever want to be again. But I am so blessed that God just said, yes, you will get up. You will get up.
Yep.
And we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And you can decide if you want to die or if you want to keep going. But there's so much more for you if you keep going. And I'm, what? So not long after that, you would think like that it would take time to kind of heal from all of that. I was off of work again, but then they have you on a program where you need to go back. They said if you can go back to work for 30 minutes a day, like if you can get through work, because it was like nervous breakdown after that. You're surviving being in rehab and seeing everything that you see there, and then what you go through and you learn and you just get on the other side of that. And it was tough after rehab, but I had a friend ask, do y'all do men's cuts? And yeah, I do. And that's about a 30-minute haircut, and I can go to the salon and I can do this haircut. And that's all I'm thinking. I'm not thinking anything else. I'm like, I got to get through this haircut. 30 minutes. That's my next step to get through this haircut. And so I go, and I mean, I'm like no makeup, hair like in a bun, just can't even believe that I went in that way, and then the outcome that came from it. But the guy, I didn't even know his name at the time of the appointment, sat down and he said, "I'm Cameron." And I was like, "I really like your name." And that name's just as my precious name. And we were talking, and he was from San Angelo, and the girl that had asked for the appointment, I mean, I wasn't even registering. I was like, "You just got to get through this appointment." But after I thought maybe Callie's dating him or something. I don't know. And she had asked if I wanted to go to dinner with them, and I've known her for years, and I thought, oh, she's just trying to get me out of the house, and still not registering. And then it came closer to the time that we were supposed to go, and she was like, "I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. I've got a birthday to go to, and Cameron would sure still really like to have your number and take you." And I was like, "Wait, what? I thought you guys were dating." And she was like, "No. He wanted that appointment. He wanted to go meet you." And then I made several, like, we went to eat, but I would always make several friends like meet with us. I was like, "This burger, he doesn't, he just got out of the hen house. Like, does he know what he's getting into with this?" But he kind of knew, like, the story that was going on and what I had been through. And slowly that we just became friends. And he had gone through a divorce, and his life was, he was trying to get on the other side of that. But he had a little girl that he had never ever introduced her to anybody else. But he said, I really would like for you to meet my little girl." And he was like, "She's probably going to be very shy. She might not talk to you." But she was 5. And so I thought, okay, I want to meet her. And I remember her, the first time I saw her, she just came bebopping around. I'd gone out to his house to over across to the neighbors, and she came, and she just kind of looked at me, and I was like, "Hi, Addie, I'm Jury." And she jumped in my arms, and she wrapped her arms around me, and she hugged me like a hug. I'll hold on to that dear forever. And I thought, you know what? This is, no matter what, this is my girl. And she always has been. And I've been thankful her mother shares her with me, and it's always been a good thing. She is so precious and dear to me, and I'm so thankful that God gave me that gift. And it's just ironic, too, that be 5, and then I get to pick up right there. And then we're dating still. We're not serious. You mean we just, like, I'm trying to still, like, be okay. And God works in mysterious ways, because we had been dating for about a year, and I mean, I was on birth control. And then around Christmas 2018, we find out, "You're pregnant." I'm like, it's kind of shocking at first, and then it was very shocking because, I'm not in a place where I'm ready to marry this man. I definitely can't do this on my own, and just not too sure how I'm going to feel about it. And then I get the results back that in my head, I was like, it's a boy. It's a boy. Okay, I can be okay if that just was a boy. Maybe I can do this. Maybe not. Maybe I can do this. And then it was a girl. And I sunk. I was like, because you feel like in the moment, God's doing something for you. But only me, I'm kind of stubborn. Like, no, I don't want that. You took her from me, and I don't want this. I don't want that. And I can't do this. And Eli, bless his heart, he's 17 now, and he's so great, and he's such a good kid, and we barely got him there. Like, I can't do this. And my precious husband, he's never really been through anything, so he's like trying to like help me through this, and he's not knowing. He's like, well, I don't know, what do you mean? Like, okay, you're pregnant. And then he just was kind of quiet, and he was trying to process it too. And I didn't know what he was feeling, and I was like, I can't. So I attempted again. I was like, I can't, God, I can't do this. And found wake up, hospital, get to be in a hospital. And this time, like, to the bed, like, that's traumatic to wake up in that situation. But when I went to sleep, I know that I died because I remember walking over this grassy hill, and I saw a yellow bag laying at the top of the hill, and I was walking towards it, and it was like the scene of an accident, and there was something covered, and I was looking at that bag, and I know feeling it in my heart, if I would have looked under the bag, I would have died. I know it was me under there. And I didn't. I just turned around and walked off. And I walked away from that. And I know that I survived it again. And after that, seeing that and waking up in the hospital, it just hit me again. And God said, you're gonna do this. I'm giving you this. Like, it's gonna be okay. Just trust me. Yeah. And it was like, bam, like it hit me. Okay, we're gonna do this. And got through that pregnancy, and she was precious. Thank goodness it was so early on that she was completely fine, and I had her. And from the moment I had her, the look in her eyes, she was looking at me, and I knew I was looking in her, and I said, you have met your sister. You have met her, and you know her. And my little Sawyer K, to this day, she sees pictures of Cameron, but we don't like constantly talk. She knows exactly who her sister is, but she'll always say, Cameron K and her wings. Oh. And she just knows she's in heaven, and she's like, oh, can we go visit heaven? And she's just in that young age, but like not all kids like see that. And I know that they have that connection, and there will be times when I get a hug from her and I know like that was Cameron. Yeah. That was a Cameron hug. That's so good. But through all of that I survived, I got up. I kept getting up after each hit. Yeah. And now, like, I am so blessed, and I'm not scared of letting my life be great. Sure. I have an amazing life. I have a wonderful husband. I have 4 children. I have a business. I have good friends. I'm so blessed. Yeah, you're so blessed. And I love every bit of every day that I get to be their mommy. I get to be finally the wife that I was always striving to be, like, oh, this is what I need to go do. And then finally had that man that came into my life that.
Thank God for him. What was he saying? You know, how was he feeling?
I know that he said a lot, like, you're doing good. You're doing way better than I would ever be doing. And then, too, when I would waffle, he's been my strong arm, that you can't be too soft on people that are, and that's how I've told you with how I deal with people that are struggling. You have to decide, what do you want? do you want to die or do you want to live? Because there's life on the other side. Yeah. And he would tell me, like, come on, we got to go. We got to do this. We've got stuff to do. We're going to do this. And he, in the moment, sometimes, like, be a little sensitive. And he's like, I understand. Like, no, it's got to be the hardest thing ever. I don't want to ever imagine it, and I don't want him to or anybody else to, but it's like, we're here. We've got to keep doing this. We've got to keep going. And he is my strength, and he keeps me going, and we keep each other going. And it's just a crazy book that needs to be written, that I think people would not even believe it. But that, too, I would talk about him when we started dating, like Cameron, and people had thought, is she crazy? What's she talking about, Cameron? And then my husband now, I'll tell him the story, and I'm like, my husband's name's Cameron. Yeah. And that it's just
so good.
Not even the ending. This is the beginning of the day before, and now the day after. The life after is just...
There's goodness.
God is so good. He's so good, and he has me. And yeah, there are times when I'm like, oh, well, when's the shoe gonna fall? When's it gonna drop? But that is what you have to work through. That you don't let that get you. You don't let that take over you. And you think, no,
live in fear of all the things.
I'm thankful. We're good. We have a great life, and it's now I get to go and have my peace that I feel like my mother never got to have. That it's just, I get to live my life through her. I get to be her joy, and I get to still be Cameron, and like I'm never gonna let anybody forget her and through me. Yeah. And so
it's the healing. The healing is the key to the freedom.
Yes.
And that is one of the biggest things that I want to share through this podcast is, like, come and hear all of the things that we have all lived through. Yeah. There's peace and there's joy on the other side of this. Like, please do not give up. Yeah. Please don't quit going. Please reach out. Please find your community. Find God. There is life
after death. There is life.
Yeah, there is.
In my case, after death. And I am so thankful and blessed that if I could rewrite, things would make it never happen, but it did, and I am who I am today.
Yeah.
Because of everything.
Yeah.
And God knows me. When I couldn't walk, He carried me.
Sure. That's so good. Thank you so much for coming on and
Thank
telling
you for having
your
me.
Story. You're going to change lives. This is so cool. I'm so thankful for you, and I'm thankful that you kept getting back up. Like, you are incredible.
Thank you.
You did great.
Thank you.